welcoming you back to Your Faith in the Health Community. I'm your host, Pastor Jackie Jackson. We hope you enjoyed the last episode that you saw where we had Dr. Jean Anthony, who was the associate pastor. Well, actually, she wasn't the associate pastor. She was the associate professor at the UC College of Nursing. And we also had Dr. Edie Morris, who was associate research or research associate at Children's Hospital. But today, now that was on health. Today we're gonna have a talk about faith, and with a really interesting topic that we don't talk anymore. I want to introduce our guest, and I'm very excited about this. His name is Ali Rashid Abdullah.
There you go.
And he is a imam of the Islamic faith. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, man, I woke up, so it's a good day.
Okay, good start.
All right, so yeah, I'm happy to have you on the show to discuss some things. As we said, the show is your health, your faith in health, and just talking about faith. And while we were talking before we started the show, you made a very interesting comment that we don't talk to each other. And that's something that hit me and really stuck with me. All right, so, and I thought that was something very interesting. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that? We don't talk to each other. What do you mean?
Well, religion is a very sensitive subject. And when you're talking about people's souls and, something that they have invested their life in, they don't like to be challenged, I come from a family of 5 sisters, 2 brothers. One sister just recently passed who was of the Islamic faith. 4 of us were Muslims. And 4 of my sisters are Christian, but we talk about what we believe, why we believe it, and we get along fine, I don't think we have a lot of issues because we predicate our faith on more of what we do as opposed to what we say, your family, your sisters and your brothers say, watch what you do. And that's what, and people do too. Some of my Christian friends, if they see me do something that they know is un-Islamic, see if I get a sandwich that may have some pork in it that I don't know about, they say, oh no, brother, what are you doing? Which is a good thing. Because sometimes there's so much food stuff out here with pork and different things that, we are forbidden from eating. It's good to have people who look out for your best interests.
And that is definitely so. And before I go further, I want to also thank you to come at the last minute from work.
Please.
And so I want to say that because normally I know whenever I see you, you're
Right.
usually Dapper Dan.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so, that I appreciate you just taking that time out
Sure.
at the last
I'm
minute.
on my lunch break.
On your lunch
Right,
break. And
right.
I appreciate you not eating and sharing it with us. But what you said that's true. A lot of times we don't talk. It's not even crossing over, I guess you'd say from talking from Christian to Muslim or Muslim to Christian. Sometimes we don't talk from Baptist to Pentecostal.
Sure.
There's so much denominational divide going on in our community or in society that where we're supposed to be showing love and harmony and loving our neighbor as we love ourselves, sometimes we are very caught up in denominational things that have nothing to do with our spirituality. And so talking becomes important. You mentioned about the food. I know I was out with a friend of mine, this Muslim brother. Monday we were out having dinner and he was ordering, and he's not from the United States either. So some things don't always, when he's reading it or something, doesn't always translate well to him. And so I was mentioning, as he was ordering his food, I was looking, and what you just said, I say, hold up, yeah, give him everything, but take off the Canadian bacon. Don't put that on his sandwich. And that was looking out for him because of who he is. And I know what he's about and wanting to be sure that he does not involuntarily cross over
Sure.
a line that he shouldn't be. And I think those are the things where you're talking about loving your neighbor
Sure.
as you love
Sure.
yourself. Important. For a lot of people who may not know, and I don't want to act like I'm an expert, but I know Iman,
Imam.
Iman is and
Equivalent to a
is-
minister.
is a minister.
Yeah, equivalent to
but
a
can
minister.
you, for people that are watching, can you explain just a little bit more? Educate.
Well, an imam is just one who takes a leadership position. A father is an imam who leads his family. You know, you as a minister, you're an imam. You lead a congregation, you lead your family. You know, but that's the title that is given to those of us who are of the Islamic faith. I have been a imam a religious advisor for the Department of Correction for the last 20 years, in and out servicing young Muslims and Christians, you know, because Islam, like Christianity, is a social message, you know, and that's what they need. They need to learn about society and how to live in it.
Okay, something I think that when I learned about, and I learned about this years ago, but to find out that in the Muslim religion, you study the Quran as well as the Bible, or am I?
No, well, you know, most of the Muslims here in America, indigenous Muslims, at one time were either Christian, raised Christian, came from a Christian family, or had converted to Christianity later on in life. So we're very familiar with the Bible. You know, we study the Bible. The Prophet Muhammad, peace of God be upon him, said that those of you who have been Christians and accept Islam, you have a double favor. And I think how that is translated is that we may have a greater insight on why Christians think the way that they think, as opposed to someone who's standing off maybe from another country who just see your ritual. But we see your dedication to your faith. The Quran says that we should respect and identify those Christians among us who dedicate their life to doing the right thing before God. To be a Muslim, I can't profess to be a Muslim if I don't acknowledge all of the prophets that came before our prophet, Prophet Muhammad. I must acknowledge them, recognize them, and the Quran says that we are to make no distinction between any of them because there is but one God.
And there is definitely one God, one faith, and as we say, one baptism. In what type of, you know, we just went through, well, open enrollment has started for healthcare, which health is important. And when I worked for Enroll America, we had the opportunity to work with a number of different mosques around the state of Ohio in getting people enrolled. Where you worship, are you all going to be doing anything this open enrollment period?
Well, I think they have. I go to the Global Court Masjid out in Westwood, and I think they have already begun the process of doing that. But it's important when it comes to health. You know, as you know, we fast 30 days. It's called the Fast of Ramadan. And just recently there was an article that was out speaking about the benefits of fasting. Well, we know Christians fast. The Jewish people fast. There are many religious denominations that fast. But fasting has such a tremendous impact on one's health, you know, since we're talking about health.
I do know that through the Muslim faith, eating correct is something that you teach, or...
Well, it's important. What we eat is what makes us who we are. You know, we're learning more and more about the foods that affect the way that we think. You know, so I mean, what we eat and how much we eat, it's much of what we eat affects us because too often we overeat. You know, we stuff ourselves. I mean, you know, I was looking at a TV series very recently of some Muslims. Some immigrant Muslims who were participating in the fast of Ramadan. Well, the fast is supposed to be based on a Muslim eating the meal of a poor person. But this series, when they broke their fast, it was like they were having a feast. They had all types of food, and they were stuffing themselves. And actually, that's un-Islamic. That's not even being a good Christian, you know. Yeah, and that's what that is, you know. But it goes to what we eat. We eat a lot of fish. We eat a lot of chicken. We're forbidden from eating the flesh of swine. And this is important because people look at that as being kind of extreme, because pork is very common here in America. Although we are forbidden from eating the flesh of swine, under compulsion, Muslims can eat what they need to eat to sustain their life. We eat just enough of whatever to sustain our life. The religion is not extreme as people think that it is, but that's because we don't talk. We don't communicate. We don't share ideas. You know, we are more like Christians, and Christians more like Muslims than we differ, you know. But we just, there's such a fear of someone challenging faith, something that I put my life in, you know, and I believe that my salvation lies in this particular way of thinking that we don't want to be challenged.
And that is awesome. I like the fact that we're sitting here, Christian and Muslim, and especially right now, and this is not by any stretch of the imagination going to be a political conversation, but just saying right now the tone or the temperature that's going through our country, especially where it comes to Muslim, and with all the rhetoric flying around, and I don't need to go into it, we know what it is. I think it's important that we have conversations like this. I think it's important that Christian and Muslim sit down and have, not that there's a Muslim conversation over here void of a Christian, or a Christian conversation over here void of a Muslim, but that we sit down, have conversation, because the only way we get to understand, the only way we're even able to reach any harmony is that we do talk to each other, that I don't be afraid to ask you questions about your religion, and you not be afraid to ask me. And we've had some very nice conversations because we work together, you know, in our work.
Right.
And so we've had an opportunity to have some very good, I think, enlightening conversations.
Well, I think it's important. See, you have to be challenged to grow. You know, so I think it's important. I take on any questions about my faith, and if I don't know, I'll go research, you know, and because I believe in what I believe, and I truly believe that Islam is the best way for me. Now, you may choose another way. I respect your right. What we look at, what bottom line, what the religion promotes is, regardless as to what you call yourself, it's how you live your life and how you treat people. It's about respect. I may not love you. I know the Christians say they love everyone. I have some questions about that. I may not love everyone, but I respect you. And you don't have to come to my house for dinner. I don't have to come to your house for dinner. But we can coexist as long as we respect one another. So the bottom line, that's what I promote. You know, love is a big piece of what Islam is about. But we know we're not going to love everyone. You know, there are going to be people who are your enemies, who you may even despise, you know. But you respect that they have a reason why they are the way that they are, you know. There are people who have lifestyles I don't agree with, you know. But they have to go before their Creator and answer for their sins as I have to go before mine to answer for mine. So, you know, it's about mutual respect.
And when you say respect, you know, when you're thinking about respect, I think probably one of the best ways to get to respect with each other is you have to talk. Because something we were saying also at the beginning, people fear what they don't understand. And if you don't understand it, you don't give it an opportunity. It's like, nope, that's it.
Right.
I'm not going to deal with it. So through conversation, through talking, through sharing information, through sharing ideas, that is what will help bridge an understanding. And through understanding, that is what's going to stop a lot of the issues that we're having. And I should be able to, like you said, I should be able to respect. I know you. I've gotten a chance to know you now over the last 7, 8 months, something like that. Yeah. So I know you to be a man of integrity. You know.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
I know you can be silly at times, which is a good thing. Yeah. But the integrity is the part that I've been able to see, and that's something that I look at all the time. And so, but that came through communication. That has come through us sitting down talking and not shying away from each other because there's a difference. So I respect your walk. I trust and believe that you respect my walk.
Sure.
You know, and we should be free to do that. I believe that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. That should not be something that keeps two people or two groups of people from coming together and sit down and converse, because there are things that I'm going to learn from you as our friendship grows.
Sure.
And I hope that there are things that you're going to learn from me.
Absolutely.
And those are the things that really make us people. It's what bridges gaps. It's what makes us stronger. And especially in the black community, it's
Sure.
what makes us stronger when someone can't come in and use, he's Muslim, you're Christian. And that becomes another way
A tool to
of
separate,
pushing it.
sure.
And it says, a house divided.
Right.
Or a community divided. So I think talking, and that is actually being healthy, because they become healthy conversations.
You know, Jackie, one of the things that frightens me today about a lot of religious leaders, I'm hard on religious leaders because I expect more. Because I come from a time of Martin Luther King and, people of that caliber who truly dedicated their lives to the struggle. So I still hold Christian ministers to that standard. I say Christian ministers because the great majority of our people are still Christian. The great majority of them are, and the great majority of them look to the Christian faith for guidance, And just like you said, you have Baptists who don't want to deal with Methodists, and that should not be an issue with all the issues that we're confronting in this day and time. When we talk about our young men and women that we're losing to the street, who have become, for the most part, godless. They have no frame of reference of God. They don't love Jesus. They don't love Allah. They don't love anything but the material things, the immediate things. Well, that's a loss for all of us. I care less, what you call yourself as opposed to how you live your life, So if there's no standard where a person will impart values, the value system has just completely diminished. There is no value system. You can do what you want to do, however you want to do it, whenever you want to do it, with whomever you want to do it today. That's what's promoted. Again, we go to those funerals, and young men and women who have been shot and killed through gun violence, their peers come. And instead of listening to what the minister has to say, most of the time they'll leave out. And
Right.
They'll go out and they'll drink. They have their own tradition. And I'm not downing how they mourn. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to discredit the way that they grieve, because they grieve differently, And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have allowed God to be removed from our homes. If you have God, that means that you have rules. But what rules serve to do is to give you focus and direction and makes you responsible. I don't want to go too far off on that, but I know that we're losing an undeclared war out there. It's a spiritual warfare that is taking place. We're losing our children, and we need to do what we need to do to get them back.
And that we are 100% on, because that it is warfare. It is spiritual warfare. And you're right, when we're at these funerals, or even yesterday we were out somewhere doing something, and we saw where it just got really tense, and you've got young people with guns and people ready to go off and start shooting at the drop of the hat, and not understanding, and that's probably because of the lack of, well, not probably, it is because of the lack of spiritual training from any kind that has come down probably the last few generations.
Sure.
And so I know for me, there are things that I won't do at this point, not because I'm a perfect guy, because I'm not by any stretch of the imagination, but there are just some things that when I even get close to doing it, there's something spiritually that touches me and has me go, no.
Well, you have a conscience.
A conscience.
And what, there are people who don't believe in this spiritual idea of a Satan or an adversary against man, but everything that this world does is to remove from you your conscience, Prophet Muhammad said that once a person no longer has a conscience, you have nothing to work with. So I hear adults saying, oh, they're trying to shame that child. Well, without shame. See, I can't force you to be moral. That's something that has to come from here. That has to come from my heart, from my soul. That's an internal thing, you know. But as long as I fear disappointing mama, daddy, God, family, then I got a chance. The moment that I no longer feared the loss of their respect and their love, then I'm out here on my own.
And out on our own is really, that's a crazy place to be.
Well, it's frightening.
And we have a lot of young people that are out there.
They say you only live once. I'll try anything once. I'll do anything once. Well, a man with principles and conviction, they will not do anything.
Right.
You know, even El Hajj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, at one point he said, by any means necessary. Well, we know there is a means to achieve the objective that you want. You know, he was speaking from a different perspective, but I hear young people use that all the time to justify doing whatever they want to do, you know. But we live in America that has a freedom that is a freedom many times without responsibility. I can say whatever I want to say. I can do whatever I want to do. You know, as I said, I go into the prison system, but I'm going into a place where people have been captured. They were caught for doing what they do. The great majority of the committing crimes have never been captured. They're still out here doing what they do, you know. So if you don't get caught, you continue to do what you do.
Well, I know back when I was a younger guy, it used to always be it always be the saying that, well, you didn't commit a crime until you get caught. Which isn't true, because you committed the crime, you just happened to get away with it.
That's the rationale here in America.
You're right.
You know.
You're right. Let me ask this, because I want to make sure we hit this before we run out of time. You go into the prison systems, and you say you've been doing that for 20 years. Can you talk a little bit about that, especially what you are, so over a 20-year period, that's what, 2 generations?
Yeah.
Over that 20-year period, what are you seeing in the system now versus what you saw, say, 15, 20 years ago?
The population is growing younger and younger. Young kids, 14, 15, 16 years old, are now joining adult males doing penitentiary time as opposed to juvenile time. As a consequence of their crimes, I mean, they appear to be more violent, you know, they're more hopeless, more helpless, you know. They don't care. It appears that they don't care. Many times their families have given up on them at an early age. Many of these young people that go into these penal facilities quit school at 13, 14, 15 years old. They have no marketable skills. They're just hopeless. They do what they can do, and anyone can stand on the corner and sell crack. Or I can be a robbery boy, you know. See, if they don't learn how to live in the home, in the church, in the traditional structure, they're going to learn it from TV, they're going to learn it from radio, they're going to learn it from the music that they listen to. And most of what they hear there, what is glamorized, is street life, you know. And so they glamorize Nicky Barnes instead of, I asked some kids one day about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. They didn't know who was who. They knew nothing about the history. Now, do I blame the parents for that? Well, when I'm talking to a 13-year-old whose mother is just 25, whose grandmother is just 38, whose great-great-grandmother is just 50 years old, I'm dealing with generations of people who kids having kids having kids having kids.
Who hadn't learned
who were never taught
to even pass down.
They were never taught, you know. So that's one of the issues that we're confronted with today. We're dealing with very young mothers who really just don't know how to raise their child other than providing material things for them.
Well, let me ask some of the young men. So over this period of time, you've had to have seen a countless number of these young men that you've encountered come out. What are you seeing in them when they come out? And I guess are you seeing a difference of those that you are mentoring or spiritually guiding when they come out? Are they coming out into society, making a change and adapting, or are they coming out and funneling right back in?
I have a young man out in the car right now who is one of the students from the prison system. What we give is we give them a hope shot, you know. But what happens with prison is a young boy can go to prison and he's there for 15 years and nothing is demanded of him. There's no standard that is demanded of him for him to meet while he's there to qualify him coming back out into the free society. So you have a young boy who's 15 years old, he gets out at 30, who knows nothing more than what he did when he was 15 years old. He still has no marketable skills. It's frightening. I don't mean to laugh, but it's scary, you know. So you're bringing this 30-year-old out here who thinks like a 16, 17-year-old because he hasn't learned anything more than but how to.
Like the guy we saw yesterday.
Like that guy we saw yesterday.
Almost 30.
You know. So then when they call them predators, you know, when they say they create anarchy. I understand what they're saying, but we need to get to the heart of why they are the way that they are.
But I guess what I'm asking, though, like you said, you're mentoring them.
Yeah.
You're spiritually guiding them. So we know that that there are a large, or I don't have any statistics, but that there are a large number of young men and women coming out of the penal system, right back into what they were and going back. Are you seeing any of the ones that you've had time to work with, maybe for years, for some of them, come out and they're making a change in their life? And just real quick.
There are exceptions. There are exceptions to the rule. We have one premise that we work with. If we can just keep them alive long enough, if we can keep them close long enough, we can get them to change their values. But when they come home and we don't have the resources to help get them trained into marketable skills, to get them a job, they don't want to work at Burger King. They don't want to work at Wendy's for $6.50. They don't want to work at Big Boys for $3 an hour and tips. They don't want to do that. And they're not going to. So they go back to do what they know to do. You know, they're in survival mode and they do what they need to do. But being back in that culture, there's no money out there. So you see a lot of robbery boys rising, you know, a lot of robbing each other, a lot of killing each other, you know. It's just scary. It's chaotic out there.
Well, look, I really hate to end the conversation, but like we said, we're going to have this conversation or a continuation of this conversation again. So I just want to mention again, tell them who you are. I'll let you tell them.
My name is Ali Rashid Abdullah. I work for the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission as an outreach advocate. We work with those young men and women who have been identified as potentially the most dangerous young men and women here in the city of Cincinnati, those who potentially will do the shooting or those who will get shot. That's who we work with. So.
And you are the imam at?
I'm an imam, an associate imam at the Cincinnati Islamic Center, Global Court, and I go still into the Ohio prison system.
So, look, we want to thank you for coming out. Look, we want to thank you for once again tuning in with us on Your Faith and Health Community. We want you to join us again on the next episode. You never know what we're going to be speaking about. So make sure that you join us. Make sure you get enrolled in health care. Yeah, I said it. Make sure that you go get enrolled. Listen, there's no need of giving. One, bump the fine. You need health care. If you get sick, what it's going to cost you to go to the emergency room is going to far cost way more than what you're going to pay to cover yourself for health care. So until the next time we talk, be blessed, and remember, this is your health and your faith and your faith and your health community. Bye.